the devil's advocate. Mr. Speaker, they say that the only vice that cannot be forgiven is hypocrisy. And that even the repentance of a hypocrite is itself hypocrisy. It is very easy for you to point fingers at other people, but whenever you are pointing a finger at someone, you should always remember that there are four that are pointing backwards to you. All of us in this discussion have a role to play. We have a role to play in the situation in our counties. We have a role to play in the situation in people's homes, people's kitchens. Mr. Speaker, we as a house, the way I understand the division of revenue to work, is that even the money that is supposed to go to the salaries, emoluments of the members of the county assembly come from the amount of money that we send to the counties. There is no separate allocation for that. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, when we as a house get an opportunity to increase the devolution basket, I hold the position that as a Senate, we must always do everything that we can to enlarge that basket before we come here and pontificate and try to please MCAs when we are the people who are part of the problem of the MCAs, Mr. Speaker. I was in this house, and it embarrasses me greatly as a senator. Every time I see a senator speak about, oh, we don't have drugs in our hospitals, oh, MCAs need better salaries. Where is that money going to come from? It is us as a Senate to fight to enlarge the basket of devolution. And the embarrassment that I get, Mr. Speaker, is that the opportunity that we get to enlarge that basket is through the division of revenue bill. That bill was here. We had an opportunity to enlarge that basket. We as a Senate chose not to enlarge that basket. And it cannot come from us that now we are suddenly realizing that MCAs need more money. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we in our committees, whenever we meet the county assemblies, they come before the county public accounts committee. We have had this conversation with members of the county assembly. And we don't have to appear like we are tone deaf. We are having this conversation at a time when every Kenyan is struggling. I have argued that, in fact, if we are talking about earnings and salaries, let us have a conversation about all Kenyans' earnings and salaries. Everybody is suffering, Mr. Speaker. We would appear to be tone deaf as a house if we only picked to discuss our own emoluments or emoluments of other elected leaders, Mr. Speaker. In fact, we have tried to convince our colleagues on the other side of the political divide that we must have a conversation generally about how Kenyans are doing. People's incomes have not grown for a long time, Mr. Speaker. All these responsibilities that people are talking about, it's not as if only elected MPs or elected members of the county assemblies are invited to Harambes. No. People who work in public service, wanaitwa wakubwa, they are called senior people on the ground there, they are called, but their salaries have not grown, Mr. Speaker. So let us not have this conversation in the context in which the country is in right now. Mr. Speaker, what I want us to do... What is your point of order,
Senator SIFUNA? What is your point of order, Senator Methu?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would not have really wanted to disrupt my big brother, Senator SIFUNA, but I think it is fair that I quote Standing Order 105, responsibility for statement of fact. A senator shall be responsible for accuracy of any facts that the senator alleges to be true and may be required to substantiate. Mr. Speaker, I find the argument of Senator SIFUNA misleading that the more amount of money we send to counties, the more MCAs will get, because capping of what MCAs or any public servant earns is by SRC. Even if we were to send 1 trillion to the counties, yes, and the money has been capped at 86, Mr. Speaker, the county assembly or county government cannot be able to raise their salaries. Exactly. So the point that is the statement, I think he's contributing to a statement that has not been sought. Yeah. What Senator Cherargei has sought this afternoon is a review by the SRC, not a review by Division of Revenue, not a review by the Senate, not a review by anybody, because the only person that has that mandate is the SRC. Exactly. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator SIFUNA.
Yes.
In your statement, you alluded to the fact that the more money that goes to the counties, then the more the MCAs will.
Mr. Speaker.
Is that correct?
Mr. Speaker, that's not what I said. When Senator Cherargei was speaking, he talked about salaries, he talks about allowances and the welfare of members. Mr. Speaker, let me give you an example. There was a time here in the County Assembly of Nairobi when the Assembly was not able to purchase water. You are also aware, Mr. Speaker, that there is a capping on the percentage that can be utilized in terms of emoluments and salaries in the counties. Mr. Speaker, what I am saying is this, and it has been submitted on this floor, that salaries is not the only way to make a member effective as a legislator, as an oversighter. What I am saying is, let us get whenever we get an opportunity to grow that basket, Mr. Speaker, and we have had this conversation with members of the County Assembly who have appeared before us, that they would want to have autonomy of their own budgets. I don't think that Senator Methu understood what I was saying, because these are all matters that had been canvassed here.
Senator Kajwang, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I'm rising on a point of information to Senator SIFUNA if he accepts.
Then you need permission from the senator. Senator SIFUNA, would you wish to be informed?
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, he's the chair of PAC. He's my chair. I have to say yes. I don't have any option.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why he said unfortunately, but, but Mr. Speaker, the matter raised by Senator Methu is not true. Senator SIFUNA would be right, because if you look at the regulations, the PFM County Government Regulations of 2015, and that is Regulation 25(1)F, whatever county assemblies get is supposed to be based on the equitable share of a county. The regulations that we passed currently puts it at 7% of a county's equitable share, or twice the personnel emoluments, whichever is greater. So it is not far-fetched for Senator SIFUNA to say that the more money we send to counties, the more money that will be available to county assemblies. Not necessarily for salary, Mr. Speaker, but it could be for operations. It could be to facilitate public participation, public outreach, and to enable them to carry out their oversight and representation mandate. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to remind Senator SIFUNA of this. We had discussed it in the morning, and he does not have to apologize to Senator Methu for making an impression that if we would have voted for 407 billion, then county assemblies would have been given access to more money to be able to carry out operations, which I know that the matter before us is about salaries and payments and benefits, but county assemblies would have gotten more money if the Senate gives more money to counties.
Senator SIFUNA, proceed to conclude your remarks, please. Let's rest this matter there. Proceed to conclude your remarks.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, but we understand the jitteriness of our colleagues when we discuss this matter.
Proceed to
because
conclude
even their own MCAs ask them these questions when they go home. Mr. Speaker, finally, let me conclude that at the County Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Speaker, in fact, this question of the autonomy of the Assembly, autonomy of the budgets of the Assembly is something that we as a Senate must now expedite. I am aware that our legal team is working on this. And the review of the ceilings, I am very happy with the chairperson of our finance committee, the senator from Mandera. He is always willing to listen to the county assemblies when they come to him and the members of the budget, including my sister, Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are actual and real impediments to the carrying out of these functions. And even for us here, we don't necessarily have to, we have had this conversation about our own affairs in here. And we have agreed it doesn't have to be about salary. It cannot just be about facilitating the role of a senator. If it is possible for me to conduct oversight and I don't touch any money, let me find the holes where people are going to hold public participation already paid for, water is there, people are there. I don't need to touch the money, Mr. Speaker. So please, let us not run away from our primary responsibility and vilify other organizations such as the CRA. Once we grow our devolution basket, then let us have a conversation with CRA about allocation of more resources to those who provide oversight. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We are going to allow, at least to be fair, I'm going to